wanna know what an American warrior is? Yeah. Anybody that served in the United States military honorably. Yeah.
Welcome, this is the American Warrior Radio Show. I'm Garren, an Air Force veteran, founder of AVET Project, and also an accredited claims agent before the VA, and your host. If you or someone you know has ever worn the uniform of the U.S. military, you're in the right place, American Warrior Radio Show. So grab a pen and paper and strap in, because we're about to launch this episode.
Yeah, American warrior. Okay, let's get it in for the women and servicemen. I came prepared and brought my game like ESPN.
American Warrior Radio Show's bumper and intro music is graciously provided by none other than war hero himself, Stephen Hobbs. Thank you, Stephen. Set the tone, my brother.
By the way, I keep the fams buzzing. I ain't worried about the outcome, the message gon' be clear. You can hate it or love it, but your freedom is still here.
With me today is a special friend of Kim and I's, and basically anybody here in the Brevard County area, because she is so involved in so many different things. And you heard her on the precursor to American Warrior Radio Show, which was just American Warrior Radio. When we had the terrestrial radio show, she was a regular guest. Kimberly Benton. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, Garren.
I'm so happy you made it. I know the last time you were on the radio, I think you were in your Class A's or something, or we did a commercial.
Yes, we did. We absolutely did.
Well, thanks for joining us, because I want to share with the viewers a little bit about you and your journey, starting with your Marine Corps vet. What made you want to go into the Marine Corps? Of all places for females, what did you want to go into there for?
Do you really want to hear the story of how this happened? Okay. So I worked at the carpet mill. I did not join the military right out of high school. I took my ASVAB and it sat there. And, I worked in, and I just decided, I was like, you know what? I don't want to stay here forever in my hometown. You hear the story again and again. So I went into the Navy recruiter's office.
The Navy recruiter, okay.
Petty Officer Meade and Petty Officer Pollard. Petty Officer Meade was a tall man. He was about 7 foot tall. We used to call him Lurch. Well, he thought it would be cute to stuff me in, as the military nomenclature calls it. It's called a shit can. It is a little metal garbage can. He tried to stuff me in it. So at this point, being my sailor father's daughter, I proceeded to break a pencil off in his leg. He acted shocked. So at this point, I got introduced to the Marine Corps. I did not know at the time that the Marines took women. I was the first female Marine in my county.
First female Marine in your county.
Yes.
Wow.
We've had female Marines around for a long time. They had their first boot camp in Brooklyn, New York. And I grew up in a southern Bible Belt town, and I was the first successful female Marine out of that station.
Trailblazer, pioneer even.
Yes.
Okay, so you go into the Marine Corps. What was your MOS? What did you do?
Well, I was going to be a motor T mechanic. However, they were moving the school, and I did attain a femur fracture in boot. So I got to stay on the island while they were moving the school. So I went into ordnance. They asked me if I would do ordnance. I was like, yeah, that sounds fun.
I like to blow stuff up.
Let's go blow stuff up.
Yeah.
So I ended up being what the Marine calls the small arm repairman, which I don't know about a mortar or a 50 cal or M80 ship guns considered small arms, but those were my small arms, the 240, the 249, and of course back then we had the M16A2. And I served at training station at Parris Island. I helped make Marines. I enjoyed it I enjoyed it very much so.
Okay, so let me pause right there, because I'm waiting to ask this question. We ask this to all our female guests. What particular challenges were presented to you as a female? And now you're in a training position, so you got new recruits looking up to you. Were there anything that pops to mind that was a specific challenge back then?
Well, the old adage that women can't perform at the level that men can. I did remember distinctly when I was in the medical rehab platoon that we call MRP, outswimming all the males. And the male drill instructors would use me as their challenge for their recruits to raise the bar. Even when I went into the CS chamber, because I have such a small little head, boot camp in the Marines, they toss your stuff at you, you get what you get, you wear what you got. And medium mask on this little head. I can eat.
Talk about a challenge.
Yeah, CS all day. Matter of fact, I went back in with 3rd Battalion Mail. I walked out of there like it didn't faze me. They're crying and snotting. There's a video of that too somewhere. Staff Sergeant Davis recorded that.
No kidding.
But the stigma that women can't perform to the level that men can was one that I found I had to work on.
Well, I can appreciate that only from a male's perspective because I served with some females also, but beyond that, and again, we've had other guests talk about issues like military sexual trauma.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get that? Was there an undertone of that, or were we coming out of that time period?
I was stationed in Aberdeen in 1996 during the time of controversy. Do you remember when that was all over national news? Okay. Well, I had my MST there, and I didn't report it because in the Marine Corps, there's a stigma. If you report an MST, you're that female Marine.
Are y'all hearing that? You've heard it from other guests we've had. This is horrible.
I walked into a DAV rep in Titusville, whose name I won't publish right now, and he basically told me to get over it. It happens all the time. And I was pretty upset by that response, so I quietly left his office to never return and seek his counsel again.
Well, that lets me segue into the situation that presented itself, and we've known you a long time,
Yes,
10,
sir.
15 years now. When you and I got together and discussing your claims and the issues you were having with the VA, because you were getting dragged over the coals like so many, but it particularly hits home for me when it is a female veteran because, in my opinion, you're already disadvantaged in the eyes of the world, even today. Look, Kim, my wife and I have traveled. We just got back from the Mediterranean. Women in many parts of the world are viewed as the less than the sole of your shoe. So we've come a long way in the United States, but the military has always kind of begrudgingly come to it. But you got out of the Corps, you survived. Thank you for your service.
You're
Really
welcome.
appreciate that. You
Thank
learned
you.
some skills. I mean, I'm sure you can break a weapon down faster than I can. But the idea is you get out, and then you got this big machine, the VA. How did that go? What kind of engagement did you have with them first?
Ooh, it was a little bumpy at the beginning. In fact, that's how I woke up in the morgue in VA Nashville. I pleaded and pleaded to my primary doctor, Dr. Anita Scott, Tennessee Valley Healthcare
You have an
System.
amazing memory for names.
Especially for trauma, especially when it involves healthcare professionals and trauma. Because after the Marine Corps, I too was a nurse for 20 years, so I know how healthcare and patient care is supposed to go. And the blatant fact that I repeatedly was telling her something was wrong, and they blew me off. I had come to Titusville to visit my grandparents and passed stones and was septic from here to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and they did nothing about it. They were like, oh, your gallbladder's not well, you passed the stones, da-da-da-da. Well, by 2012, it had gotten to the point they were treating me like a drug seeker. I ended up in septic shock, had to have emergency surgery. The head of GI in Nashville threw his hands in the air like this and said, I can't fix you, like it was my fault. I'd been crying for help. They went and got a surgeon in Vanderbilt that came over with about 10 med students, and they patched me up, but it didn't go well. I woke up in the morgue in shock. The epidural they gave me didn't take. That's all I had for pain medicine. When the head of anesthesiologist come up and discovered that I was getting less than 25% of any kind of anything, he kind of come unglued. That was a 7 to 14 day hospital stay. I was out in 6. There's a mental health note because I did come unglued.
And kind of understandable, but going forward from that, you've had some success and you're actually getting, because you've had a long road. That's on the healthcare side. And I want to touch on a couple items there. What's your opinion or what's your view of the way, aside from specific instances like you've had to deal with, generally speaking, the way the VA is addressing the different needs female veterans have than male veterans?
I got a call I found really ironic about a week ago. They are finally reaching out, asking about women's services. So they are making an attempt. I guess it was 2 weeks ago I got the call. And let's see. Last pap smear I had was in 2015. They opened the new hospital, Lake Nona.
Mm-hmm. For those viewers out there in other parts of the states or maybe other parts of the world, Lake Nona is a fabulous facility. It went way over time and way over budget, but now it's operating at full force, and it's a great place, and there's good doctors
It's in a good location, too.
It is, right here. Big catchment area. Brevard is part of it.
My rheumatologist is fantastic. I have to say, since I picked
Man
up...
or woman?
She's a woman.
Okay.
Since I picked up Dr. Kamala,
If
she's
you
been
could
very
choose,
attentive.
would you rather have female care providers than male, or does it maybe not matter?
To me, it doesn't matter. You know, even with the MST, that's not really so much an issue for me anymore. I don't know if it's all the counseling I've had, all the work I've done. That's not an issue. What I want is a physician that has an open mind, an open ear, and critical thinking skills.
Ooh. Did y'all hear that, all you VA
Critical
VA doctors?
thinking skills. When a patient tells you that there is something wrong, there is something wrong. It is your job to open your mind and your medical books to see what symptoms. We need to be treating the root of diseases, not symptoms either. I keep hearing this talk every time I go to the VA. I'm pressing on these doctors. Why aren't we doing functional medicine? Why aren't we getting the option for functional? And I keep hearing, oh, well, we're going to start making all our doctors be functional and Western.
And there's a difference between an osteopath, the doctor of osteopathy, and the general MD who is allopathic in nature, where this is what they do. Oh, that's the problem. Let me write a script for it. That it's not curative. It's just like you said, treating symptoms. Discuss access issues with the VA. You and I have had some conversations, because I want to talk a little bit about the claims and what AVET Appeals did for you in furthering your business there. But you're an advocate and a strong voice for getting through to doctors. So tell me a little bit about whether it's secure messaging, or how would you best advise our viewers?
Okay, once you get into the VA system, you go into enrollment, you're signing up. While you're there, you need to set up your My Healthy Vet account, and you need to go into enrollment, and you need to get a premium account, because these doctors are seeing large numbers of vets, and I do give them some grace. I do. So they get up to 3 business days if you email them. I have found if you email your practitioners, you are going to get a more rapid response than getting on the phone and blowing up that clinic. Because more times than not, you got to go through 3 or 4 people, and it's not going to get to them.
So go to My Health eVet, get the premium account, meaning you have to go there and validate yourself.
Yes, you go to enrollment, and they will actually verify your credentials, and they will...
And then you have access to a wide range of services on the My Health eVet platform.
Yes, you can order
Yeah, go ahead.
You can refill your meds.
Is
it
difficult? Or
no,
is
it's easy. It
is checking a box?
Check, send. And then, it's pretty much the same way with your messaging. You go in, compose a message, you pick your clinic.
Secure message is the termination. And you can select the team, because it populates how many doctors you've seen.
That's
you can
right.
go on to ortho, you'll see that there. Click on it. You have to it's not clumsy, but it's not really easy either. You just kind of have to experiment.
Yeah, it's way easier than trying to call the clinic.
That's a fact.
You're going to get a response a lot quicker. And also something you want to keep in mind is you are creating an official written document of your communications.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
So if they try to say you didn't tell them or they didn't know, you have documentation of that email that you communicated your problems and your concerns to that provider. So they can't bow out gracefully. And a lot of times when they get busy, you have to empower yourself and check your own labs and make sure everything's within normal limits.
Great advice, because you can do that under Blue Button Download.
Absolutely. I love the Blue Button Download, and you can customize it. They'll give you, I think, automatically it's a preset 3-month date. Boom.
Right.
And then you can go in down the blue button and you can hand pick what information you want.
Labs,
If you just want labs and your radiology reports, you get that. But if you want to see what that doctor's writing about you, which I do, because I had one of my chiropractors, which she's not allowed to touch me. I don't go there anymore.
Good.
I read her notes. That was not what it was told to her. So if you were noticing that your notes are not lining up with what's going on with your actual encounters with your MDs,
then you can secure message that particular provider that wrote that note and said, that's bogus. I don't know what you're talking about. And as you said, that's an official record, sealed in time forever.
Absolutely.
So that's important, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because access really is a powerful tool.
You have to empower yourself. You have to be your own advocate. I know when you're sick, when you're tired, we don't feel like it. But you have to do it. The numbers are large. There's a lot of vets that need help. And like I said, the staff tends to get overwhelmed. So you got to document, use that premium account, secure message that information, review your notes, review your labs.
Be patient, but don't be a lapdog.
No.
If you haven't heard back from that provider, then you need to get on them again.
They have 3 days to respond to an email. And if they haven't responded in 3 days, you can go on down to the Advocate and pay a visit and start.
Patient Advocate, another
Yep.
powerful tool if needed.
Yes.
But don't be a pushover and don't think, well, somebody else must be needing services more than I do. No, you're your own best advocate.
That's right.
So let's talk about claims for a moment, because it's a sore subject with a lot of veterans, especially those like